So in this video I'm going to be demonstrating my SuperMaximo ModelAnimator program, which basically allows you to import a 3D model in wavefront OBJ format, rig up a skeleton and animate it. It's written in C++ and uses OpenGL, GLU, SDL and GTK3 for the user interface. It's designed for use with the SuperMaximo game library, which I've written in C++, which is built on SDL and OpenGL. And what the animation program does is it exports a bunch of files which the game library will then be able to import and use in a game. So using this program and using my game library, you'll be able to have animated characters in a game. All the source code is available at my GitHub account, and there'll be a link in the comments. Okay, let's open up the program and move the windows about a bit. I'll just quickly explain the user interface here. On the left hand side we've got new, which is kind of obvious, just resets everything and creates a blank slate. Import file, which allows us to import an OBJ file or any of these file formats, which I'll explain in a minute. Or you can press Ctrl O, which I'll do now. And let's import this cat model, which I made for a previous game of mine, and yep, which I made in 3ds Max. Right, so the file formats. Basically, I'll start with this one. SMM. That basically means SuperMaximo model, which is basically a splurge of all the 3D information that's currently in the graphics card memory right now. SMS, that's SuperMaximo skeleton, which is a file that just contains the information of the skeleton you've built. SMA is an animation for that skeleton, and SMO is basically, it contains one SMM, just the file name of one SMM, a file name of one SMS, and as many SMAs as you want. And basically the game library will import the SMO file and create a new instance of the model class, which contains the model, the skeleton and all the animations, and then you can just code in play animation 1 or something, and then it'll play animation 1, animation 15. If you've got that many animations, it'll play the 15th animation, and so on. Wireframe mode, which you can toggle with Control W as well. Yep. View orientation, you can look at the model on different viewpoints. You could also use the number pad control and any of the number pad numbers, or on the top of the keyboard you could use those numbers as well. Free view allows you to freely view anything on the model, so if you hold down the middle mouse button you can twist it around and stuff, or if you hold down Control and click, you can do the same thing. It's good for laptops that maybe don't have a middle mouse button. What else can you do? Yeah, right mouse button, it translates your character around so you can get a good view of certain areas. My mouse is quite sensitive, so ignore the fact that it's kind of darting around quite quickly, and press spacebar to reset the view. That's it for the left hand side of the UI. I forgot to mention you can use the scroll wheel to scroll up and down and zoom in and out. Okay, so onto the right hand side. We can create our skeleton with this window, so if we click create bones, I think we can toggle this with Control B. Yep, Control B toggles it, and all we do is click on the screen and then we've got a bone. Click again, we've got another bone. Click again, we've got another bone. And we can right click to stop the current chain, or if we click again we can start the chain again, and if we press escape instead, it will actually kind of cancel that bone. Right hand side, we'll just leave it there. Skinning bones, we'll get to that later. Bone scale, that basically makes the bones thicker or smaller, or not there at all, if you don't want to see them. It doesn't actually affect the inner workings of it, it's just aesthetic. Bone name, you can name your bones to whatever you want. The bone rotation limits, this basically sets the maximum and minimum amounts of rotation that the bone is allowed to perform during animation, and we'll see a bit more of this later. And the bone structure, you can select whatever bone you want. You can just see the details of it, so if you change this to 0 or something, you can see that it's changing up here. And you could also create bones from whatever bone you're currently selecting, so you can make this huge tree of bones and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And it also allows you to create bones from any viewpoint as well, except for free view, because I found it just didn't really work that well. But any view other than free view, you can create random bones. Oh, there you go. Select any bone, and you can press delete, and it will delete whatever tree of bones is attached to it. That was a bit long. Took a bit of a long time. Anyway, what else? And that's about it for the second window. Okay, now let's create a skeleton. So toggle create bones, wireframe mode, zoom in, create the root. Let's create a shoulder thing and make the arms. One thing you can do if you kind of screw up your bone placement, I'm not going to do it now because it kind of screws up my recording program that's recording the screen right now, but if you hold down Control Shift and either X for the X-axis, Z for the Z-axis, or S for the Y-axis, you can move the endpoint of the bone you've got selected at this current time. Or if you want to move the end of the parent bone, you could do Control Alt X, Z, or S, and that moves the whole tree of bones that you've currently got selected. Okay, so let's create some sort of pelvis for the legs. Make it there, and finish that leg. Alright, there we go. Let's make a neck and a head. And now let's, where are we? Left. Let's create the tail. Right. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. Okay. And that is the skeleton complete. Okay, now would be a good time to save, so save SMS. Let's call it cat skeleton. And there you go, there's our file. And a bunch of numbers that mean nothing. Well, mean something to the computer, obviously, but can't really read it ourselves. And let's go to the front view. Now it's time to rig up our skeleton, or mesh, or whatever way you say it. Right. It's a good idea to rig everything to the root, just in case you miss something. So, oh yeah, toggle skin bones. You can either click vertices on their own, or you can hold down, or you can click and drag to select a whole range of them, and you hold down Shift to deselect them. but yeah, we want it all selected. Oop, no, we want it all selected, yeah. So as you can see, all of them are now selected. Now let's start with, say, the left arm. So we zoom in, move up, and select whatever we need. I just need to say that if the vertice dots are green, that means they're not assigned to any bone whatsoever. If they're red, then they're assigned to the bone you've currently selected, and if they're blue, they're assigned to a bone which you're not selecting. And obviously these are all blue because we've just rigged them up to the root bone. So let's select all these. Gotta be careful. Oops. Gotta be careful we don't accidentally rig up part of the body to the arm. Otherwise it'll screw up our animation a bit. Just take down the bone scale so we can see what we're doing. Okay. That's one arm done. Next one. Oops. Come on. There we go. That's part of it, that's part of it. I think that's it. Come on. Let's do the head. Where are we? Yeah. Finally, the legs. Where are they? Where are they? Okay. The other one. And that is our model rigged up.